Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's show, we're going to be talking about prop culture. We'll also be talking about a number of the new trailers that dropped, delays to movies. We're also going to be talking about the Clone Wars and everything else that has been added to Disney Plus this past week. So let's jump into it. First off, before we go into any of the news, etc., just a big thank you to all of our patrons, including Andrew, Giuseppe, Joshua, Julie, and What's on Netflix, for all of your support in making sure that the podcast can continue to survive each week, moving on, and get all of your support really does make all of the difference. And also, just a quick note as well, we will have a special episode up tomorrow all about with our kind of retro review of Captain America, the First Avenger. So that's going to be something we're going to be talking because I've literally just finished watching it. So there we go. So let's move on to the news of the week, really. And kind of this week's a little bit different because I have managed to see 3 episodes of Prop Culture, which come out next week. So I have put up my written reviews on the website, and obviously, James hasn't seen them, so I'm going to let him ask me some questions, and then I'm going to try and answer them first off. So, so let's jump into it, James, shall we?
Well, the first question, just so we've got a baseline here,
Yeah.
The 3 episodes you saw, what were the focuses? What were the shows or movies that they were talking about?
Okay, so the first episode was Mary Poppins, the second episode was Tron, and the third episode was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay. And about how long are each of the episodes?
They're about 34 to 35 minutes apiece.
Oh, that's actually much longer than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the basic ones out of the way. Mary Poppins, we're both big fans of the movies. What were some of the coolest items? Let's stick with items for the moment.
It's kind of interesting because when they talk about items, there are certain props and stuff that they go into. For example, Mary Poppins' bag, and there was also the snow globe, and some of the dresses and outfits, and like a broom, one of the chimney sweeps and all the rest of it. But it's the way that the show kind of brings them up, because each time they talk about a prop, they go and see somebody, either someone that either who has it, or more importantly, they bring it to somebody that was involved in that initial scene. So they take it to one of the choreographers for the chimney sweep, or they take it. They took like the dress of the young girl. They took it to the actress that played the young girl. And when they found like the snow globe, they ended up taking them to Walt's office in Burbank, and they had was it Richard M. Sherman, and also the guy that played him in Saving Mr. Banks. And so they kind of incorporated a lot of other people into the prop. So it wasn't necessarily just like, oh, here's a prop, this is all about it. They kind of had these people give their thoughts and sort of reminisce about the time and give you extra bits about the filming and things like that. It was a lot more sort of in depth, and they were flying around all over the place, different locations. So the Mary Poppins one had a lot more, because of the age of the movie, it was much more physical props and just stories, and it was a very interesting way of doing it.
So on the same idea, you mentioned that these were older. Nightmare Before Christmas, that's much more recent, but it's also claymation. So Was that more like the little models, or? Yeah,
see, with the Nightmare Before Christmas episode, it was much more, because there was so much more props, but also everyone had the things in much more better condition. They were much more aware of it. Some of them were breaking down a little bit, but generally they've been restoring them. They even met with Danny Elfman, who did all the singing and also made all the songs, and he was showing him bits. But also the presenter, Dan, he's also got a large collection of Nightmare Before Christmas bits and pieces. And that was much more like, here's some cool stuff, and let's show you how they made it. And they showed you the robot, like the wires underneath, and they went and met a guy that made all the wires. And it was much more of almost like a making of documentary than just here is a prop. It was much more going into not only here is a prop of the model, but here's the set, and here's how we designed the set, and here's how we made the set, and this is how the set piece works. It was much more informative. It was a very, very good, like, behind the scenes documentary. It was probably one of the best ones I've seen for a long time. And I'm going to be honest, I think this series is up there. Not necessarily the Imagineering story, but it is just below that in terms of the quality, the way it's shot. It is very informative. If you love behind the scenes stuff, this goes into it. It's a little bit fluffy, but it's not like here's an advert, because obviously it's a 30, 40, 60-year-old movie. So it's not, but I was really impressed. I kind of got to the end of it. That was for adults. That was not a kids documentary. That was meant for people that love, behind the scenes, that want to know more and get to behind it. It wasn't aimed at kids, and I really enjoyed it. It was probably one of the best things I've seen on Disney Plus for ages.
So it also sounds like they're not taking a specific format, because with the Mary Poppins one, you were talking about how they went back and talked to people involved with the casting, and that sounds a little behind the scenes, but it more sounds anecdotal, whereas the Nightmare Before Christmas sounds more of a this is how we made it. So
well, they kind of went and sort of spoke with the guy, the designers, and brought them and took them and showed them what they'd been working on. And they're like, oh, I haven't seen this since I made it. And this is how it worked. And it was, they were explaining how they did it, while obviously with the actual piece of item as well. So there was definitely a difference between the 3 episodes and how it was, the format was slightly different, I think, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes with the other 5 episodes of the season, because there's going to be 8 altogether, and they're all going to be dropping on the 1st of May. They aren't doing this stretching out week to week. They're dropping all of it at one go. So I think that's going to be a big difference. They did feel slightly different, but that felt more about how those movies were all made so differently. That was kind of pushed where they had to go with it.
It sounds a lot like the Disney Insider episode, or the portion of the Disney Insider where they brought the animation stills from Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast that those animators had worked on, and then they had stories, except much longer, 40 minutes long. So wrap up, since we haven't talked about Tron at all, real fast. Obviously, most of the iconic stuff in Tron are from the digital side of things, the light cycles and the disc battles and such. How did they handle that?
Well, they did go into a little bit of the actual computer generated how they did it. But they went and met the guy that did all the initial concept art, and he showed them like some of the concept art, and then they kind of showed you this is where this idea came from. Like the idea of that 90-degree turn. They explained why that came about. And it was just like I'm thinking. Also, it's like it showed there wasn't really a lot of props for this movie, which meant that it's a lot harder for them to get hold of. They managed to get hold of the costumes, and they brought the guy that played Tron. He was there with his outfit. They even went and spoke with the director of the movie and at his house, and they went and he explored all the like merchandise and stuff that he'd collected. And there was a few bits and pieces, like there was a big Tron sign that they dealt with, and they got all of the guys. They had like all 4 of them together that were behind it, and they were talking about how they made it. So I always loved the Tron movie because I was into video games, and it was kind of that thing. But it always seemed old, even when I was a kid. Even though it was in the 80s, it aged. It probably hasn't aged great, but it was like of its time, amazing. I mean, they showed like some artwork of how they did. It was much more. Are they behind? It felt more like a behind the scenes thing. The props were there, and it was kind of, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like it's forced. It wasn't like here's a bit of a prop, and this is what they did. But then this is how they turned it onto screen and what they did. And I thought just as there was hardly any props, there was. And you kind of think when you look at it now and you go, oh yeah, there wasn't really that many compared to like Nightmare Before Christmas, but there were just tons of them, hundreds and thousands of bits of props.
All right. So one last question. This is about more the format than anything. Just to confirm for people, there's no like underlying thread between the stories. You can go, ooh, I really loved Tron. I'm just going to go straight into the Tron episode, or I can go to the Pirates of the Caribbean episode and watch that. If that's
they are all completely independent. There is no cross thread. There's nothing going on. Literally got the intro at the beginning where he introduces it, and that's the same intro for all of them. I mean, I could have ended up watching episodes, 4, 8, and 9, and I could have watched any 3 episodes, and I don't think it would have made any difference which format or which order you watched them in. If you're only interested in Roger Rabbit, then just watch the Roger Rabbit episode. You can jump in and out, and you might be like, well, I don't really like that movie, so I'm not going to bother watching it. I'll be honest, it's like Nightmare Before Christmas. I've always been a bit of funny with that movie. It's obviously iconic and it's massive, and it's been part of video games and Kingdom Hearts. And when you go to the theme parks, he's all over the place, and people love Jack, and I love the music. But every time I sit there and watch it, I'm just like, I really just does not. I don't watch it religiously. It's not one of my favorite movies to watch, but I love the actual look of the characters and the music. I kind of got to the end and went, it's like, I didn't quite get around to watching it, but I was like, I really probably should watch that movie probably again and see how it works after I've seen this, because I was not a really big fan of. It's that really weird thing with that movie, but I really enjoyed the documentary because of how they did it, and obviously of the Tim Burton stuff and all the rest of it. And I was impressed. I watched all three in one afternoon, back to back, and I was like, well, that's the idea of watching three back to back. It wasn't boring. They were completely all different, and I just really enjoyed it. But
I'm the same with The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love the song, the song, This Is Halloween. And I love seeing what I'm thinking of, the Haunted Mansion all decked out in the Nightmare Before Christmas regalia during the Christmas season. It really brings that ride to, it adds an extra layer to that ride. But overall, the movie, I'm just like, it's a movie. Mostly because I don't go for like the macabre kind of thing all that often, and that movie is very much a tribute to macabre.
I think, as far as like claymation stuff, we're being British, like Wallace and Gromit has always been a big part of that, and it's just kind of mixing it and all. And I just honestly felt that this was a really good series. And I'm actually in some ways I go, it's just like a shame they're not dropping these weekly, because this would have been great. But this series, honestly, don't sleep on it. Don't just think of it. It's not as fluffy. It's not an advertisement like the Disney Insider or One Day at Disney. These are good. If you enjoy filmmaking and you enjoy all of this, that's what if you ever go into the extras on a Blu-ray, or you want to find out more and you watch the featurettes, and sometimes you kind of watch them and you kind of go, I just felt more like a trailer. This is a full-on, 35-minute documentary telling you how they made it, the props, the design process. Also, the presenter Dan, he is a fan. He's a fan first. He collects this stuff himself. He's very kind of, in some ways, it's that thing of, he could be doing a podcast or a website or a YouTube channel, and it's that kind of, it's enthusiasm for it. He's not just there as a presenter and just fluffy. Do I have to say these lines? No, he's pulling things out. This is in my collection, and I've got this. I've got friends. They've got that, and it's like you can tell he knows what he's talking about with regards to. They've gone out and found an expert in this to present it. And he is. When he sees stuff coming out, you can see it on his face that he's interested in what he's being presented, rather than sometimes you see these TV shows and it's like this person will say anything if you put it on a card in front of him. It's like this guy. You can tell he loves what he's doing.
That always makes a show a little bit more entertaining. And it's obvious. It's so obvious when someone is not into it and when someone is into it. So that's very good to hear. I'm super excited to watch it. I love prop shows. I love just how movies are made in general. I wish it was weekly, so I didn't feel like I had to watch the whole thing in a binge instead of enjoying it at my own pace. But I will pick out the movies that I'm most interested in, hit those first, and then go through the rest later.
Yeah, obviously next week when you've seen some of them, it'll be easier for us to go through and do like a full and get your opinion on it as well. And obviously I'm going to be trying to watch some of the other later episodes as well for the first time this week. So next week will be kind of a continuation. It was just really nice just to kind of watch a few of these shows and go in, wow, okay, this is good. This is so much. I can't wait to watch the other 5 episodes from the season, and I'm in. I'm completely in on going, this is a fantastic series. This is going to be, when I do my list articles on the website about originals, this is going to be high up that list. That's going, he's going to be in the top for quite a while. You just looking at how this series goes, like they've took the time, and and even just how they edit it and stuff. I was like, when they shoot it, you'll see it when you watch it, and you're like, they'll do the overhead shots of the cities with the names, and they're like, okay, they've actually spent some money on this. This looks good, and I really can't recommend this enough. When it hits on Friday, get on there, watch an episode. You don't have to watch them in order. If you're interested in one particular movie, just jump in and watch that one. I can't wait to watch the Muppets and the Roger Rabbit ones. And it's like I said, I haven't seen these 3 first episodes. I'm sold. It was always that kind of thing of like, okay, at the minute between this and Clone Wars, I'm kind of enjoying this. This is getting some good stuff. It's like after sort of it was getting a little bit ropey. Like, oh, can we? It's like I would like to get above a 3 on my like rating scale. It's like no, I enjoyed that. That was good. But yeah.
I will admit, when I saw the reviews pop up on what's on, I was like, "Oh, did it drop early? I need to go watch these right now." And I was like, "Oh, no, it's not on yet."
I was like, okay, right, wow. I was like, yeah, it's like that was like, it's definitely good to see them, and yeah, I can't recommend them enough, really. So now let's move on to some of the news from this past week. So first off, we did get a new trailer for the Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian series, which is also going to be dropping on May the 4th, the first episode, with new episodes dropping each Friday. Pretty cool. Again, this is going to be more behind the scenes stuff of The Mandalorian. And yeah, what did you think of that trailer?
I thought the trailer was fine. It looks more like a roundtable discussion more than an exploration of it. Although they did show things like the giant 360 video wall that they used for on quote unquote on location shooting. Showed some of the props. Showed them working the Baby Yoda doll and so forth. Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'll be checking it out on May the 4th. Absolutely. But I mean, it's just a trailer. We'll wait to see what the format ends up being.
It was, I think that the round table format is going to be able to allow this to extend a little bit. It's going to allow a little bit more. It's almost that kind of podcasty kind of thing where they're able to be sort of shooting across the table. And they've got some big names involved in this. And it was like, okay, that's going to give them a little bit more freedom to talk. They're having a conversation. Because, I mean, there's a version like this on the WWE network where they have they all 3 guys sitting at a table and they all, banter. And I'm looking at this going, okay, actually, I think this format will allow this to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more interesting. Again, I'm thinking with the once a week, I think that's probably the best because 8 episodes all at once, suddenly they're going, oh, crikey, that could be, I mean, we don't know how long those episodes are, but, a 3 to 5 hour behind the scenes documentary on an 8 episode series might be a little bit excessive. At least with prop culture, it's half an hour on a 2-hour movie, and they got a little. But yeah, it's one of those kind of weird ones. I'm looking forward to watching it, and I'm glad it's going to be weekly because we're going to see how it goes when that one drops.
I would like to see some of the roundtables mix up who is at them because it looked like from the trailer there's a round table with the directors, there's a round table with some of the key actors, there's a round table with maybe the writers. I'd like to see directors and actors maybe at the same table because they bring different perspectives and it's interesting to hear them bounce off each other where a director might say, oh, we decided to shoot this shot because we needed to see Baby Yoda walking around or something like that, and the actor will go, oh, I didn't realize that was why we did it that way.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I'm going to be honest. This is kind of thing really for me. It's like it's with Pedro Pascal. I didn't know who he was until The Mandalorian, and I'm going to be honest. The Mandalorian, he might not have even been on set other than that one scene. It was a bit long, and I watched the Kingsman Golden Circle movie for the first time yesterday. We rented it because it was like weird. He's doing. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen it. I know.
Yeah, and he's doing all these things. I'm thinking, oh, so that's actually who he is because I just generally like he did all these. And it's like he's in the Mandalorian. I'm going, well, he didn't really do a huge amount in the Mandalorian. It's difficult to see. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that comes in and sort of hearing the directors and stuff and just the idea really. But yeah, as we said, it's a bit of a strange series. This one. I mean, I'm glad they've waited until the European launched. It could kind of stretch it out a little bit. But moving on from that one there, we also got a new trailer for I can't even. It was a dog show. I can't even. I've completely drawn a blank on it.
They have so many dog shows, which I'm not complaining. I love dog shows, dogs, cats.
Oh,
pets
it's A Dog's Life with Bill Farmer. I'd completely just had a bold moment there where, so they released a new 30-second trailer. Again, it's just a nice kind of fluffy trailer, about 30 seconds. I thought that one looks okay. I wouldn't say I'm super excited about this series. I'm going to give it a go when it comes out, but it's kind of, I'm going in with not really low expectations, but I'm not really kind of going, yay. It's like, okay. But I'm happy to see what it's all about.
I just need cute dogs, cute cats, cute pets of any kind, I'm fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a deep show. We don't need interviews with the dogs explaining, how great it was to be working with this director. No, I just want cute dogs playing, and maybe you get a couple voiceover narration bits that are funny or entertaining.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from there, just a quick note as well. Apparently work is now underway on this third season of The Mandalorian. Hardly really a big surprise, but the concept artwork is going on. They are Jon Favreau is currently writing the script for the third season, and obviously the other guys are all working on it's probably that situation where they're all at home, they've got time to work on sorting out the deals, the contracts, everything that can be done away from the set and stuff. So it's good to know that the third season is currently underway. But obviously the second season is going through all probably editing and directing and all those kind of bits and pieces right now. But a lot of that can be done kind of remotely, really. But yeah, Mandalorian season 3, this could be years away because we've still got the Cassian Andor show and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. There's also apparently another new show being created by the producer behind the Russian Doll series. We don't yet know much about that one other than it's a female protagonist, which could maybe be that Asako Tano spin-off, or it could be something completely separate. We don't yet know, but I'm thinking Mandalorian season 3 could be 2-3 years out if we've got all these other series dropping. It depends how quickly they can turn it around.
It does, and some of that's going to depend on the state of the world, obviously.
Yeah.
I think they want to turn it around fast. I think they want The Mandalorian to be, if not annual, semi-annual, maybe an 18-month turnaround kind of thing. It is their big show seller. It is the first thing that people are going, oh, this is what I need to get Disney Plus. And I realize by the time we get to season 2, assuming things don't go completely off the rails, we'll also have Falcon and the Winter Soldier and other stuff lined up to bulk it out. But I think The Mandalorian is, at least for the next couple of years, the linchpin show, and they're going to want to get that content out as fast as they can.
Yeah, and also I think, as you know, we talked about it last week, and I think the gallery show is going to show this. That concept of that round circle of screens, so they don't have to go anywhere. The next year to 2 years, this sounds like exactly what Disney needs. I think that set is going to be set up permanently, and they're going to be using that technology on as many shows as they possibly can to rather than traveling. We need to go to this location. We're just going to film outside on there. It literally takes away the need for them to go to these different places. Yes, physical sets are amazing, but right now they'll be looking at going, how quickly can we turn this stuff around? And I think that technology is going to be used a lot on some of these. I don't know necessarily about the movies, but I think on the TV series, I think we'll see a lot of this.
To be honest, before they announced the 360 wall, until they started really elaborating on what it was, I really didn't realize that a lot of The Mandalorian was shot on a soundstage. I thought they had done a fair amount of location shooting, and turned out they hadn't. So that was always the big question between shooting on a soundstage and shooting on location, is there's more of an authenticity to shooting on location. The Mandalorian really kind of blurred that line a lot.
I just think it's the idea of that they can be in those locations and set things up. I think we'll just see more of it, but definitely good to know that we got some more stuff coming from that on there. Moving on again with the current situation, Disney and Sony have announced a number of changes to the upcoming lineup. First off, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, has now moved date once again. It will now be coming out on March the 25th, 2022. The date that it had set of November the 5th is going to be the third Spider-Man Homecoming movie. That's been pushed back from July to November. I mean, the idea that Marvel and Sony are not working together on this is not at all surprising at that point because, they've swapped dates. What that also has done is it's now moved the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, has also pushed back from April 2022 to October 2022. The only good news is Thor: Love and Thunder is moving forward a week to February 11th, 2022. And also they announced earlier this week a little bit of detail just for regards to Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. That one there has also been delayed, and that one will be coming out. I'm just bringing this one. October, it's supposed to be out this October. It's now going to be June 25th, 2021. So that obviously just all the Marvel movies, they're all shuffling. They're all getting them way out the way. They're pushing them way back. And I suspect there's going to be a lot more changes depending on how long this goes on for with the cinemas. Obviously, as well, that pushes back what happens with Disney Plus. If a movie is pushed back, I think Doctor Strange is pushed back nearly 18 months. It's pushed back quite a bit now.
Quite a drop.
And obviously that might have an impact on WandaVision, because it's supposed to be that they was kind of interconnected, and that was supposed to set up the movie, and that was supposed to be coming in December this year, and then Doctor Strange was coming in May next year. Now that it's literally 18 months later, whether or not WandaVision will get delayed, the only good thing with WandaVision, it looks like a lot of that has been filmed. So they'll have that in the bank, whether or not they're willing to put that one out a bit early. I mean, I don't know. And also, Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, apparently they have 2 to 3 weeks left of filming. So that series, there is, I would say, they've not really announced it, but that series has got to be delayed. They haven't even finished filming yet. They had a few more weeks to do. Apparently they are looking at different locations of where they could film. Now, instead of going back to Europe, they might do it in Canada or something like that. But yeah, that series, if they've not finished filming, I cannot see how they're going to get that out in August right now.
I mean, they'll be able to do all the post work on stuff that they've already filmed, but
yeah,
you can only do so much, because filming is only the first step, or actually it's more like the third step. But things change too, because you'll be on set and you realize you can't shoot a certain shot the way you wanted to. Edits after the fact change context, and so even if they have every piece built up exactly how they want it, the special effects are done, the editing's done, music is done, but they're still missing these 2 to 3 weeks of shots, that could change everything. And all the work that they're doing now could end up being simply because they had to make changes. It's very disappointing, but obviously I would prefer that the cast, crew, all of them stay safe rather than rush and get this done.
Well, not only so much just being safe, but I think it's also the fact of I'd much rather have the proper show and the way it's supposed to be told, rather than an edited, where we lose 2 episodes and like a whole chunk of the story is missing because they've not done it. I'd rather they take their time. I mean, ultimately right now, where filming is and where a lot of it was filmed in Atlanta. Well, they've reopened. It's whether or not Disney are going to allow anyone to go down there and film, and it's all it's going to be closed sets and all the rest of it. I don't know, but right now, I go with the idea everything is delayed until proven otherwise, and I think that's probably the safest way to think of everything right now in terms of when things are going to arrive. Things are going to be 6 months to a year to 2 years late. And we're just going to it's forever just going to be one of those situations of, 2020, nothing came out that year.
It was the year that Onward came out and set Pixar back a decade, unfortunately. Yeah,
so, I mean, the next big movie for them is July for Mulan, and we'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, there's no movies for a couple more months. The good thing is we have at least got Artemis Fowl coming up next. Moving on from there, we have got... The Princess Bride is coming to Disney Plus in the US on May the 1st. They did this nice little trailery thing with the people that starred in it, talking about it coming to Disney Plus. It's important to note, probably just going to be North America, because in the international distribution rights are held by a different company. Currently, I think Lionsgate are releasing the DVDs, etc. So it's probably just going to be Europe. I'll be honest, I've never seen it. I've always wanted to because I had Andre the Giant in, but I think the concept of when I saw it in the video shop and it said The Princess Bride, I went, that's a girl flick, and I did watch it. And then people go, how can you not watch it? It's just when you're in a video shop and you see it and all you've got is a picture on a thing and it's called The Princess Bride. 10-year-old me would have looked at it and I went, no, I'm not watching that.
So you won't get this maybe, but you are the real life Fred Savage from The Princess Bride, because that is actually the plot where you'll get it in the first couple minutes, but it's the Fred Savage is homesick and his grandfather's like, I'm going to read you this book. It's The Princess Bride, and Fred Savage is like, oh, that's a girl book. I bet it's got kissing in it and stuff. That is the entire point of the movie. It'll be interesting to see, because I think a lot of people, myself included, have a lot of nostalgia for the movie because we grew up with it. I'd be interested in a fresh 2020 perspective on this movie, because I don't know if I can look at it objectively anymore. I've seen it so much.
Yeah.
So many of the lines are now part of, pop culture or meme
Well, there was all
culture.
these like memes and stuff coming out. Because when you've got like, you're like, well, what's going on here? It just completely just whoosh. So I have already, and I was going to say to you, we're going to do that as our May's movie that we do a retro movie review each month. That one is going to be May's because it's a bit like, yeah, I think it's like so many people. I mean, it was one of the most popular stories for a couple of weeks, and I'm going, I've never seen it, and I think this will be a good opportunity to kind of jump in and watch it because I was like, yeah, and that'll be interesting because I'm coming in completely from with no nostalgia. So yeah, it was a lot of people are excited about this one.
I have to include myself in that. I did see it not that long ago before this announcement, obviously. It's just got so many great lines in it. You've heard most of them because of they're part of memes, but the cast, the crew, the fights, it is a fun movie.
Yeah, no, so that one's good. So also this week we've had a lot of new content drop onto Disney Plus, but there's also been some stuff that didn't drop onto Disney Plus. It's been a little bit messy. I did do a video and an article earlier in the week about shows and dates missing their release dates because this past week alone, on Sunday we were supposed to get Just Roll With It season 1. I think was it Tuesday we were supposed to get Secrets of the Zoo Tampa. And then Wednesday was like Furry Files. I still can't pronounce that show. And then yesterday we were supposed to get, was it Mars and Beyond and Man in Space. So this week there's been about 5 different things that they haven't, this is why Disney have announced them. They've either put them out in a press release or they put them in their video. Now there is always that thing of cards subject to change and all the kind of, these kind of conditions can change and all the rest of it. But this is something that's been going on for months. We've talked about it in the past of shows missing their dates and not arriving on time. But this week has been one of the worst weeks we've had for content just not arriving. The Secrets Zoo show in Tampa and also the Just Roll With It and Furry Files have been given dates for May on the press release, so that they should be coming. Now, it's important to note that this could be affected by the current situation. There's no doubt about getting around that this could be a legitimate reason that something has not been done because someone's either not at work or they can't do it from a home, and that is a legitimate reason. But also at the same time, it's important that we bring this stuff up and hold Disney people, and go, look, okay, something's wrong going on. It has been going on for months, even before, because this happened way back in February and March, and also January, where things have just not shown up. But if it was just this week only and all of that happened, I would literally just rip the whole lot off to the current situation, and that would have been like, yeah, give him a break. But it's been 4 months and it keeps happening monthly. It's like, but it's a really iffy one at the minute.
It's the same old nugget. We need to have communication from Disney. Just a simple press release. Hey, we announced this to come out at the beginning of April. Because of the situation with the world, or we want to spread out our releases a bit more, we're pushing it back to May. That's it. Yeah. That's all you need. I think most people would be fairly sympathetic to that, just as long as you own that it's not the way you want it. Now, obviously, you keep doing it over and over and over again, people will lose that the patience with Disney. But if you don't tell them anything, they don't have the patience to begin with, and you don't have a chance to get in front of it.
I mean, the thing is, some of these older ones and stuff, you can kind of look at it and go, okay, maybe the quality wasn't right, or there's a technical aspect. But you get to a certain point of like, it was happening a while ago because obviously like I make up the articles each day when everything goes out, and on Fridays I make a video. And now back in like November, December, I could make them in the day before and be like, oh, I'll do it now at the same time, and I don't have to worry about it tomorrow, kind of thing. And just good. And I was getting to the point, oh, they didn't put that up. I'm going to have to edit that out. And it was getting to a point, this was back in January. It's like, no, I actually have to wait till it's all come out because things keep missing. So this is where I'm so much more aware of it with what I'm doing every day, of where things are not happening. And that's, for the last few months, I've been doing that on Fridays. It was like, I can't pre-make these videos because that release schedule is becoming erratic. And, and ultimately at a certain point you can kind of go, and people have started messaging me going, why is this hasn't arrived. Going, okay, yeah. It's a situation that right now, the current virus problem could be causing some of it. But at the same time, why was it happening in January and February and March before this? There might be more of them now because of it, but let me just go to see what happens in May. If May's drops without a problem and there's only maybe one title, this week might have just been a really bad week for it.
Yeah, Unfortunately, we've got no insight into why this is. We can guess, and I
but
have
also,
the same guess as you do. So
I think it's like I said. It's just it's. I know some people are like, well, it's because of the situation. That's why. Yeah, but we can't. That ends up becoming you can't end up using that as a get out of free card for everything indefinitely. At a certain point, if you go, well, it was happening before then, but at the same time, you've got to give them a little bit of leeway. But I do think it's important sometimes to note when things aren't working properly, when things aren't happening.
Also, the longer it goes on, the less of an excuse you can use the virus, simply because, this was announced for May, something you've known for, the virus has been going on for months. You would have known a while ago that you were going to miss let us know. Tell us.
So moving on from there, we have had quite a few bits and pieces drop onto Disney Plus this week. So we did have the Tangled series that dropped in the US on Thursday. We also had on Earth Day on Wednesday, we had a brand new National Geographic documentary, Jane Goodall, The Hope. That one was it's like a simulcast. It went out on National Geographic. It also went out on Hulu and Disney Plus. So it was day and day Disney Plus. Again, I had an early version of it, so I was able to watch it a little bit beforehand. And kind of one of those things, I really had never really heard of her very much. I don't know if it's because, even though she's British, she doesn't seem to, I don't know if she's done a lot of presentation work in the last 15, 20 years over here. I looked into her history, and she did some stuff back in the 80s, but generally, I was like, I've really had no idea who you were until Disney Plus put on Jane. That was the first time I'd really kind of heard of her. And watching the documentary of this 85-year-old woman, of what she's done in her career for animal welfare and just raising about issues of women's rights in Africa and just as a whole, you watch this thing and go, she's really made a massive difference. She's just been working hard. She doesn't like trucking. She's on the road 300 days a year. She doesn't like it. She's 85 and she knows she's not got that long left to kind of keep doing this, but she loves it and she feels that it was her passion. But also at the same time, she fought within the system. She met with politicians and oil companies and dealt with them rather than fighting them, rather than she was much more sort of go and meet them and have conversations with them, and she'd travel with them and talk that way and try and do it within the system rather than protesting and chaining herself and fighting that way. She kind of watch this thing and go, well, she really has made such a difference to, that whole region and what she's been doing and her, local groups that she runs and stuff. And it was just, I watched and thought, wow, what a really just great person to watch. And it's like, and I'm loving the fact that Disney Plus put this out on the same day as National Geographic. In the US, it wasn't, in the UK, it's on Now TV. I think it looks to be like with National Geographic, we're getting things a month or two later because of an existing contract. Australia got it and New Zealand got it on Friday. I'd really recommend checking it out. I'm really hoping people watch this to kind of bring up the numbers for it, but just really interesting. Again, it's National Geographic. It's an adult documentary. This was just really good.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not seen the documentary. It was one of the ones I knew I wanted to sit down and watch and give the appropriate time to. I didn't want it as on like a second screen or something that was in the background. I do know who Jane Goodall is. I was aware of her from a very young age. Yeah. Mostly for her work with chimpanzees and various other, what's the word I'm looking for? Gorillas and so on.
Yeah.
But so this part about women's rights and really building up the African nations is fairly new to me. I'm only aware of the primate side of things.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to kind of digging into it. But it's interesting because Jane Goodall, she might be British, but I think she's pretty well known in the States.
Yeah.
I think most of the people I've talked to are like, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Mostly only just like on a surface level. Oh, she's the woman who works with apes.
Yeah.
But still, she's done a lot to bring awareness of those kind of issues around. She's been at it a lot longer, and I think a lot of people are actually surprised to find she's even still doing it. Honestly.
I mean, because of her age stuff. But yeah, no, I was really impressed with it, and it was like, wow. And I was like looking at like more details on this kind of the thing, and I'm going, I'm like, oh, how have I missed this woman? I literally was just like, well, I watched animal documentaries all the time. I'm always watching all the big ones that happen over here. You know, if she, it's like, but it's like she's not appeared on any like, our TV shows like This Morning or and I was just along those lines of like watching it going, how have I missed this? It was like when I go, and I'm going, it's not like I don't watch this.
But it's interesting is that, she's not like Steve Irwin was. Yeah, she wasn't about doing the documentary. She wasn't about raising awareness through public access television or crazy stunts or whatever. She just wanted to do her work. She go in, work with the primates, learn about them, form relationships with them in some cases, and then, as you said, work with the local governments, work with the local businesses and factories and stuff to raise awareness there. But she was never the kind of person, oh, it's Saturday morning, I got to see Ape Life with Jane Goodall or something. That she went purely academic, which is great. And then you've got the other people like Steve Irwin did going in and bringing broad awareness.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, it worked for me with Steve Irwin because I used to watch his shows every week. I used to love watching his TV shows. I even made, I think it was about 1,000-mile round trip off where my beaten track was when I was backpacking through Australia to go to Australia Zoo to go, and that was the kind of thing of, again, where the impact comes in. And I just watched this documentary and went, wow, okay, she's done some amazing work, and all the stuff that's happening now, she's had an impact into that, and she's leaving her, what she's done behind for people that's come up. And like she said, get the youngsters involved in it really ages ago, and they will go forward in their future and change. And you look at it and go, yeah, what she did, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that's then impacted on people, that are in power now and kind of the older ones. And I was just generally on the line to go, yeah. I be honest, between watching that and then watching the prop culture shows this week, I was going, oh, there's some good stuff this week. It was just like, I felt like, now I'm actually like getting proper sit-down documentaries that aren't, and I was just like, yeah, this is just really good week. Moving on from there, we did also get the Disney Family Singalong. That got dropped, shadow drop onto Disney Plus. I was expecting it to drop. I'm glad they did it really quickly because those of us outside of the US hadn't seen it. Basically, a load of celebrities and Disney people in the Disney family singing over their songs. Some of them were doing it very, very professionally. Some of them were doing it with their kids and their families and having a bit of a mess about. With the bouncing ball, they were all filming it from home. Very much in the time, very much in the place. Done massive numbers on ABC. It's been one of the most watched shows they've done. I watched it and I was like going, this is fun. This was a really nice, easygoing thing. When all this is over, you're not going to want to watch it because it's not great quality. But, I mean, the dancing was great. I was just like, this is cool. I'm really glad Disney kind of got this out there, got it going. There's been quite a few big events because I think Lady Gaga, she put on a show similar where she got a load of people singing, and I've sat through that for about 15-20 minutes, and it was like, do we have to have the people keep doing the house spiel before each song and all the rest of it? And the Disney one was quick, fast paced, just jump in, do the song, keep everybody uplifted, move on to the next one, and then it just flowed better as an episode than the Lady Gaga version that we had. And ours was slightly different here in the UK. They kind of had different presenters and stuff. But as a whole, I was like, oh, this one was so much more fun. It was a bit daft. It was a bit naff, but it was stupid fun. And right now is exactly what we need. Did you watch it as well?
I did watch it. It was a good distraction. I enjoyed it. I will say there were a number of things about it that I really enjoyed. There were a couple of things I was kind of like, maybe drop that. But, we talked about Coco a couple of weeks ago, the live show for that. And one of the complaints was very similar to what you just said was they needed to do a little bit less presentation between the songs, but this did not have it. There was a very, Kristen Chenoweth would pop in and say, all right, we've got this person singing this song, and that was about it. That's all we needed. I appreciated the wide range of different ways that people sang the song. Some of them, like you said, they brought their kids in and the kids would sing. Like Donny Osmond had his kids singing the Mulan song, which was cute. At the same time, like, I'm not watching that part multiple times because I'd rather hear the professional version, but it was still cute at the time.
Did you notice as well, Beyonce didn't want you singing with her? She didn't have the bouncing ball.
So I realized she's got actually, her section was the one that I liked least of all. It was the most obviously produced one, because the sound quality was fantastic on that one. Whereas you've got like, those country stars singing, it's very obviously just being recorded on their phone with a microphone taped to it.
And he's like reading this. He's reading. I don't know what the words are.
I don't know what the words are. And Beyonce hers looked like, not her usual production value, but still it looked like it could have been a music video. And to be honest, I was sitting there going like, this is so out of touch with the rest of the songs in terms of quality and the way she's doing it. I'm like, this is kind of jarring, honestly.
The thing is, was it Andrea Grande? She did one, but she filmed it like multiple takes in different outfits, but it still looked like she'd filmed it from home. And it was like, you can tell, and it was the same thing with the other one as well, with the people that had like the professional gear at home and had the good cameras and the good, microphones and all the rest of it. And then you had the ones, and I just thought it was good. I just thought it was good, honest, fun, daft, stupid. I'm glad it's on there. I mean, whether or not that gets removed once this whole issue is over with, I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think they'd want it around. But I thought, them dancing and doing all the things, it was like, this is cool. It's like just watching a long TikTok video.
Honestly, it was. And even though I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh yeah, the Beyonce part wasn't that great, it was still fun. And I didn't feel the need to skip past that part. It felt out of touch with the other ones. The Ariana Grande one also did kind of, because it was, again, very produced. You could tell the difference between the people who, like you were saying, they got the professional, but you could tell the people who also went back and touched things up and fixed things up. Because then on the other side, I keep cutting you off here, but you've got Josh Gad and Luke Evans doing
that was awesome.
Gaston. That was great, but also you could tell from the sound quality that it was literally like, we're doing this. We've got slightly better microphones, but it's still untouched or mostly untouched. It's just them having a good time.
I mean, Luke Evans, he was belting it. You could see the veins in his neck. And I was like, wow, I love that performance. I thought that was great. The other one was Moana. I can't think of her name. She was really good. She knew the words. She obviously performed it enough, but just her singing her own song, doing it the way I thought that was great. And they were bouncing through those songs. They weren't, there was a lot of songs in there in that amount of time.
There were a lot of songs. And I also have to say, I really appreciated that even though for the most part, there were different people singing the songs. So you had Moana singing Moana, you had Donny Osmond singing Mulan and stuff. But for the most part, the songs were sung by people who did not traditionally sing them. But they stuck mostly to the style of them. Like the woman who sang the Frozen song, you could tell she had a different interpretation, but it was still in line with the version we know. Because there is one thing that irritates me so very much. Like you get the Disney every 5 or 6 years or so, they'll release new versions of the songs with modern pop artists, and they're just so different from what you grew up with. It's crazy jarring. Like if you've ridden the ferry from the Disney Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, instead of taking the monorail, they normally play these songs over and just like, no, I don't want to hear the super poppy version of Under the Sea. It's weird hearing it this way. So I appreciated that these songs, while different, you could still hear the original in them. Yeah,
I just thought as a whole, very well done. I thought it was very nicely put together, and as a whole, it feels like it was a good week for Disney Plus. All of this stuff. Moving on from there, Australia and New Zealand also got Onward. They've now got that on there. No yet date for the European release. Guessing again contracts. Also, Australia and New Zealand got Dark Phoenix, and also the Netherlands got it as well. X-Men Dark Phoenix. So that one is good. So most of Europe and most of Canada and most of Europe. The only place that hasn't got it, I think, is the US. They've got most of the X-Men movies, and they've got a lot more things like that, especially like the 20th Century Studio stuff. So they've had some good stuff. And other episodes, for example, Be Our Chef, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched that for weeks. I kind of fell out of that one. But then Clone Wars. Wow. Again, this is one series that is just kicking it at the end. They are going. This is. I almost feel like, you know, people have been saying, well, they should take these 4 episodes and just made them into a movie. It's like they should have done it. It would have got so much more attention if they dropped that on May the 4th as just like one big epic finale in one shot. Because it ended and it could have just gone straight into the next one. I thought it was so good.
The editing suggests that the plan is to release it as a single episode or a single movie at some point, and they're just releasing it in this format because it's what we're used to. They could even drop the whole thing on May the 4th, where you get the final episode and you also get the collected edition or whatever you want to call it. But either way, loved it. Another great episode. I wish we had had this level of quality from the beginning of season 7, but still, that opening with Ahsoka and Maul just having that really tense scene it set the tone, and it was great all the way through. I love they dropped in Obi-Wan really briefly just to let us know where in Revenge of the Sith this was kind of taking place, because they do overlap. And I'm not going to talk about any of the other specifics because I think people should enjoy the episode.
It is just so good. I mean, it's on another. We talk about another level from that, especially that mid-story arc with the sisters, which just now you look at it and go, "You're on a different." That feels like an entirely different series compared to what we're watching with these last 2 episodes. They are so good, and the music and the presentation. I mean, the fight scenes and stuff as well. I mean, the actor that played Darth Maul, he returned to do the motion capture for this stuff, and just the quality. I mean, all the marks on the costumes and stuff just looks incredible. And I'm just sat there here going, I cannot wait till next week, because not only did we get an episode on Friday, but then on May 4th, we're going to get another episode. But yeah, I just can't wait for this. This has been such a great finale. And if you've never watched the Clone Wars, you almost feel like just watch this arc. Don't worry about the other episodes. This is such a good story.
It is. I mean, you'll lose certain amount of context. You maybe won't know like the minute details of what's driving Darth Maul or who Ahsoka Tano is, who the various clone troopers are, who the various Mandalorians are, but it doesn't matter. It just holds together really, really well. And there was a great attention to detail. There's that scene where Maul goes through something, but he's got his lightsaber on, and you can see the 2 cut marks out of the side. It's like, that's cool.
And there's like little nods to Solo and the whole thing. It's just tying it all together in a nice little bow.
Was I imagining, or I think I saw Draven as one of the holograms that Maul was talking to.
I didn't know. I didn't spot it. I think I was looking to the left rather than the right or something in that, like kind of like, who's that? And that screen had gone. But it wasn't until I saw a picture later on. I went, oh, he wasn't it. They made a little note to the main villain from Solo. And it's just the way that Maul is, of just like, you know what he's thinking, and you kind of you're siding with him, because you're going, I know what's happening, and he's right. Help.
They did some very good pieces to that, because there is a common trope in these kind of stories where the villains join me, we can do heck, it's in Empire Strikes Back, join me, we can take down the Emperor, etc. And you get that moment where like, actually, you may want to consider this. This might actually be a good idea. Yeah. But of course, it's not going to go that way. We know how the story ends. That's why it's very hard to do a prequel. We saw that with the Star Wars prequels. We've seen that with plenty of other movies that have done prequels. It's very hard to do a prequel properly. This particular set of episodes is doing it extremely well, because they get to take tropes which are cliche, like that join me and we can defeat the Emperor, and like, oh no, because Ahsoka would never do that, and she's going to triumph anyway because good beats evil. And we're like, actually, no, the Emperor does win.
And then I kind of look at it now and go, could you imagine if they made the prequels now? It'd be like 5 movies, and they had all the stuff in the Clone Wars to cover. It'd be so much more detailed. And it's that really weird thing of these series as making the prequels better. They haven't changed the prequels at all, but the Clone Wars is kind of filling in the dots that make it more fleshed out. And I can't wait till I end up doing this with the new trilogy, where they're kind of flesh out what's been going on. But yeah, I'm just really impressed with this whole series.
History kind of skews our thinking, and I'm definitely in that mindset where I'm like, the Clone Wars, both this and the original Clone Wars hand-drawn series, and Rebels, of course, all really do build on it and make it a better story. And you can go back and you can watch Revenge of the Sith now and go, okay, we're at this point in this story arc, and so this is where Obi-Wan would be making the communication and so on. And like you said, I'm going, we need this in the sequel. We need something to fill in all those stupid stories. What the heck is Palpatine doing over here? How's he getting millions and millions of people? How are their Star Destroyers, etc.? And I'm thinking, oh man, they really need to get on it. But if we remember, these movies, or the Clone Wars movie that started this off, didn't come until many, many years after the prequels were done.
No, I think that's the kind of thing, really. But just generally as a whole, the Clone Wars have been a really good kind of fill in. And I feel like, it's essentially, I mean, these episodes that we're watching now, we should have had years ago, because essentially the show got cancelled and they still had this story to tell, but they weren't able to make it. So Disney kind of went forward and pushed it forward and kind of. So these episodes should have come out years ago, but in some ways, by holding off and the way they've done it, these now have got better because of today's technology. I mean, they're quite jarring compared to some of the older episodes, but yeah, I mean, just a great finish. This is definitely keeping that kind of Star Wars momentum building, which I think they've done a very good job of. The trouble is, again, the animated series instantly puts people off doing it. And it's a shame, because there's some amazing art. And you're watching all these fight scenes and you're going, I wish people would take this more seriously, because let's be honest, in the movies, it's exactly the same animation. It's just, all the people fighting around and all the rest, they're still just computer. It's just a more expensive cartoon, basically.
Yeah, it is. But there's a different feeling to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
People are very particular about it, and it's very awkward. It's a fun thing where people are like, oh, they're just so heavily computer generated. It's also fake. And I'm like, you remember the Ray Harryhausen? Did you actually believe that he was fighting a skeleton, or were you going, wow, that's a very janky stop motion skeleton? The people were more willing to accept it though than CGI. To build on what you were saying, though, we mentioned this last week, but it bears repeating again. The fact that this did not come out at the end of Clone Wars has given them a chance to go back and add things that make sense now. They would never have had Draven in this originally. I mean, why would you? Because he doesn't exist at that point. You don't have a little shot of Kanan Jarrus in the first episode of the arc because Kanan Jarrus doesn't exist. Why would you refer to Ahsoka as Fulcrum? Because Fulcrum's a name she adopted in Rebels, things like that. So they get to do things that they wouldn't have done before. They get to tie in with things that we know now that would not have made any sense even if they had alluded to them previously.
Yeah, I think just as a whole, a fantastic episode, and definitely jump in and watch it on. I feel like this week, it was like sometimes with Disney Plus, and they're going like each week going, not much. It's like this week, I feel like I really kind of felt like I've gotten my money's worth between obviously the upcoming Prop Culture episodes. Everyone else is going to get to see the Jane Goodall documentary, the Clone Wars. Also, we'll be talking about First Avengers in another episode, and just watching a few movies and stuff this week. I really feel like I've had like the Stay at Home show. And I just think as a whole, it's been quite a good, solid week for Disney Plus this week, which is exactly what we all need.
I agree completely, and I'm looking forward to next week for the next episode of Clone Wars, plus whatever else is dropping. And then, of course, the week after with May the 4th, when we get the gallery, the final episode of Clone Wars. It's going to be bittersweet, but I have high hopes for that episode as well.
Yes. So then, guys, thank you very much for joining us in this episode. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do hit that subscribe button on YouTube or on audio platforms as well. You can catch it on a number of different platforms, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can join our Facebook group and find us on all the different social media to keep up with everything. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys soon. Later.